Hey everybody, it's me, the Einstein on Wall Street, here from the balcony of the New York Stock Exchange. I brought you everything, finance, food, fashion, all kinds of fun. Anyway, we love talking to people who have a story to tell, and people who are obviously in finance and who are in trading. So it's Trade Like Einstein, Einstein and I's Money News Network, all that kind of stuff. You know I run Academy Trading. You know I've been in partnership with Apex, infinite possibilities, our preferred trading platform. Anyway, a couple of young traders have come to the floor. Here, we're going to just give a little talk about rapid fire, what they do, what I do, and how we can interact. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
How you doing?
Thank
Welcome.
you for having me.
Cool. So give me a little bit of history of your, how'd you end up start trading?
I've been trading for 9 years, going on 10 in May.
Okay.
I saw
How old are you?
29.
Okay.
Started learning when I was 20. I didn't take it super seriously. It was more of a hobby for me at the time.
Okay.
But I knew that I wanted to make money. I had a little get-rich-quick mindset at the start. Quickly realized that that was not sustainable.
Right.
And 9 years later, I trade price action, trade volume, and I primarily trade futures these days. I started off trading options, traded options for 7.5 years.
You did. So majority of it was options, really.
Yeah,
and was that successful? What kind of strategies were you using?
It was. So I mostly trade price and volume, like just like 5-minute chart, 15-minute chart.
Okay.
Sometimes using daily and hourly levels, but for the most part, just intraday time frame.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and options, it's not, first of all, it's not as exciting. I mean, it can be.
Totally.
Also, though, if you don't have a lot of money, you're limited by how many contracts you can buy. So there are a lot of barriers to entry in it.
And what I like about futures, too, is that, or just basic equities, is that you don't have all the Greeks. You don't have theta, you don't have delta, you don't have all the other Greeks playing in, which a lot of retail traders get into, and you don't realize.
You got to explain that, because they may not know what that means.
Yeah, if you don't know the Greeks trading options, you could have a position that goes up and you're in calls, but you lose money due to theta, type of deal.
Okay, what does that mean, though?
Theta?
Yeah.
So theta is time decay.
Yeah.
Meaning that as you approach your premium's expiration.
So options are it's all about timing. They're next day option expiration. So the whole thing differentiates between when I buy an equity, I'm in it, I own it. Whenever I want to sell it, I either make money or lose money. Options, there's a time value, and that's super important to know. So if it goes up, but it's getting closer to its time of expiration, you lose value. So that's time decay. I love that. That's exactly the difference, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what people need. Oh, so that's delta and theta? Yep. I had no idea about that.
So personally, I prefer futures nowadays because it's so simple, right? Or basic equities. You buy one contract of NQ, you make or lose $20.
Correct.
You buy one contract of ES, you make or lose $50. Versus having to factor in all the Greeks and premium prices and the whole 9 yards.
It's way more complicated, and this is so simple. I mean, that's the wondrous part about futures is.
And Apex. Futures.
And Apex. Look, we're all here to love Apex. We do that. We had the owner of Apex here yesterday. And think about it. For if we were to go back and try and have this interview even 5 years ago, right? Apex was not around. You guys did not have access to the markets, right? All the barriers to entry around. There was no Webull. There was no Robinhood. So there was no. You needed to be a verified. What's the word I always use? Qualified, bro. I'm fucking blocking on the word. Certified, I don't know, whatever it was, but anybody could, now everybody with an iPhone and $100 can trade the market.
Yep.
So that's amazing. I love the accessibility, right, that Apex does, that the market does, for everybody. Anybody now can trade the market. So awesome. That's the exciting part of it. So tell me about futures. What strategies are you using?
So I personally mostly use the 5-minute chart, 5-minute, 15-minute sometimes. I trade higher lows, lower highs. I mostly trade trends. I don't do reversals.
Okay.
I almost never trade reversals,
okay. Which
is funny because he trades supply and demand, and he likes to catch bounces, catch tops. I've just been burned too many times trying to long bottoms or short tops that I would rather trade with the trend, catch lower highs, higher lows.
Okay, but trends on their own. So look, we have a trend trade, right? At my academy with my partner David Green. A trend trade for us is if it's going up for more than 15 minutes, it's got to pull back to the 9 and the 15 before I think it's a buy. Are you just in a trend on its own? I mean, because that's not necessarily a winning trade.
I personally wait for pullbacks, like you said. I don't use EMAs. I think that's cool that you do, especially working here. That's interesting.
Yeah. No, we don't. I don't. You do that here, right? My trade here. That's what we teach, and that's what we use as far as trading futures.
So for retail,
right?
You recommend something like EMAs, totally. But for how you trade here, that's different.
Well, the way I trade here, I sort of described it to you. I'm trading order flow.
Okay.
Right, I'm trading dollar value order flow.
Okay.
So it's a completely different thing from trading the futures market. We don't trade it, even though the option room is over there, right? The firm I work for, the largest option trading firm on the floor, right? And we trade hundreds of millions of contracts a month. So they're big, and so I can't trade futures from here.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm a firm believer in technical analysis.
Okay.
Right, but even you talked about price action, like you. So what do your reversals? Like we have a reversal swing trade, right? What are your parameters that you feel comfortable with? Right, we go with the stock's up 3 days in a row. The RSI is 80 or above. You start shorting it, and you go into reversal. I mean, is that Fibonacci's? What are you using?
So typically I'm plotting my supply and demand, but on higher time frames, like
What is supply? Explain to me supply and demand. So I live in supply and demand,
Yeah.
but I don't understand what a retail trader means by it.
The way that I see it is leftover institutional orders. So like if I'm drawing, let's say a supply zone, I'm looking for a really big move down, a big and aggressive move, and then I'm looking for a smaller green candle right next to it. So then I'm marking the green candle to open, and then the lower wick, and I'm waiting for price to trade back to it. Because the idea behind it is that there's still leftover institutional orders. So then I'll wait for price to trade back into it, and then I'll use Bookmap. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's, you pretty much see where like limit orders are sitting within the market.
Right.
So I'll wait for price
Okay,
to
so
trade.
the book map is just what the book looks like. You're seeing limit order.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Okay.
the current
You
order
can
book,
actually
pretty
see
much.
that.
Yes.
Okay.
And it has like a
So
heat
there's
map.
limited orders that are in there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So I'll look for us to trade back to it, and then I'll see like, do we actually have orders sitting there? And then I'll look for an elevation in the volume as well as a reversal candle, and then I'll take it. And that's pretty much just how I trade. Higher time frame supply and demand, wait for price to trade to it.
Huh,
Look at the order book.
fascinating. I
Yeah.
learn something new every day. Just remember, always be a student of the market. And you?
So
So you also talked about supply and demand. But
So I have another question for you.
Yeah, go.
So
Shoot.
a phrase that I live by it and I preach on social media is discipline over dopamine, especially
Absolutely.
for traders.
Yeah.
Like, I feel as if this isn't data backed, but 95% of traders could have more success if they didn't simply just blow themselves up, which oftentimes stems back to dopamine. Right? We click buttons, instant rush.
Yeah.
So you being in the market for 40 plus years, do you believe that trading is 90% psychology? And if not, or I guess let me answer that first.
You know what? It's more than 90%. Anybody can be taught to hit a button and buy and sell stock. It's what you do when you get in the stock that matters, right? And I think it's a great motto, 100%. Because look, we never get emotional about money, first of all. Obviously, there's nothing more exciting. For those of you who have never done this, that's why I'm doing some of the things I'm doing, is because the rush you get and the dopamine flush that you get from buying and selling stock, even if you're losing money, it's not a great one, but just being inside the market, I mean, even still, doing this for 40 years. When I'm in a trade, it's got you just, I'm riveted and I'm in there, and it's the most exciting thing. And it's surely every part of the juices in my body are flowing. So, if I've got to identify what's real and what's not. And so discipline is key. Discipline is number one.
Discipline over dopamine, you support it?
100%. Yeah. And look, psychology is the most important thing. 80% of people who try to day trade fail.
Yep.
That's a low number. It's a conservative number. So the bottom line is most people do not succeed at this. So what makes them not succeed, right, is they think it's a get-rich-quick scheme. They use FOMO, hype, hope as their strategies. Right? Technical analysis is amazing. Whatever we use, we're all using something different.
Yep.
But basically, you're looking for trends. You're looking for volume, right? You're looking for little vacuums in the market, right? You think about it. If I'm an institutional trader, I mean, we used to do that all the time. There'd be a stock that you'd watch going down. You could identify it. I'd walk in and say, "Who the hell is selling that thing?" You'd go in. Goldman's got a sell order. He's going to be here all day. Okay, fine. He's in the stock. He's selling it. Well, at the end of the day, either other sellers are going to come along with him, and then you're going to see it start to break down, maybe capitulate at some level. But at the end of the day, when he's done selling it, you're surely going to get a pop. I mean, it's just the way it is. If a seller walks, like if your foot is on the gas and you pull it off, it's going to slow down. Same thing there. If all the sellers are putting their pedal to the metal and they're sort of done selling, we used to call it on a cleanup, right? So like Goldman would be out here as a seller of 100,000 shares. And I would have a customer go, you know what? I know he's near the end, the tag end. He's been selling it for 3 days. Buy me 10,000 on a cleanup. That means when you're cleaning up his seller, I'll take 10,000, because when he's done, there's just normally, this is the way stocks trade. You're going to get a lift. That's kind of what you do, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when you're seeing those gaps down.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So that you're giving us a present day example of it, but you just reminded me of it because I hadn't thought of that. I haven't used that word for a long time, but that was it, because people would be wild, even going back as far as time, right? Even before the electronics trading and whatnot, people were watching the stocks go up and down, and then you'd see, obviously if everyone has a position in a stock, or they have a level where they're interested, right? Portfolio managers, right? The analysts are there. They can be there. I won't pay above $108. I don't care what happens. It's so curious, right? For every buyer, there's a seller. For everybody out there buying stock at a price, they think it's going up.
Yep.
But for that same price, who are they buying it from? Somebody who's selling it thinking it's going down,
Yep.
right? That's the amazing paradox of this whole market. For every buyer, there's a seller. They have the opposite agenda, right? Go ahead.
It's funny how you say that. That was one of the first things years ago I learned from Umar Asher, someone I respect a lot, was I would always think there's more buyers and more sellers. And he put it in perspective of, no, you have more aggressive buyers, more aggressive sellers, and that's why price moves up or down.
Well, that's what we always say.
Not
Now,
more buyers and more sellers, because there's a buyer for every seller.
The simplest question is when anybody asks, why is the market going up? More buyers and sellers. Right, but every buyer has a difference, different instructions.
Yep.
I have buyers who will come in, I'm aggressive, I don't care, I just want to buy them at the market. Market order is no limit, buy them at your discretion. A limit order is if I pay 108, I won't pay a penny more.
What do you
Why
prefer?
is he paying, what?
What do you prefer?
No, it depends
Market or
on
limit?
really the situation. Look, obviously I like market orders because it's more exciting. You'll go out into a crowd to buy a market order, right, when news is out, when earnings are out, when anything that's sort of with an immediate sense to it, right? A limit order, we in the futures market. Look, you use technical analysis. The chart will tell you. I don't want to, I'm not going to buy it here because there's, like we just talked about GameStop, right? Stock is up $350. Anybody, if I were to ask you, well, wouldn't you buy it if it went down $100? Yeah, sure. Somebody just paid $483. Why wouldn't I buy it down 100? Not necessarily the right idea. Right? You're going to buy it where there is support. You talked about supply and demand, where there's support, right? As day traders using technical analysis, we don't want to buy it in the gap in the middle of where it's trading up. There was no particular reason it was going up. So why would I buy it on that way down? I want to buy it where support is. That's the great part of charting, right? That's the great part of price action. There's only two reasons to buy a stock, right? Is price action and technical analysis. The charts tell you where to buy them. They tell you where to sell them. They tell you where to short them, right? I mean, what an amazing gift that is.
It's awesome.
Good, awesome.
Beautiful.
So, all that being said, we're at a time here in 2025. You got any questions there, JM?
I do.
All right, shoot them.
Can one of you guys ask him what's the best piece of
You can ask me.
What's the best piece of money advice you've ever received?
Money advice. What you mean individually?
Just individually.
Well, look, we call it scalping. Look, from a trader perspective, everybody calls it scalping. It's like it's a bad word, right? The bottom line is, by definition, a day trader is somebody who makes small bits of money every hour, every day, every week, every month. So at the end of the day, you're flush and you're green, right? We hit singles and doubles. Right, we're not here to hit a home run.
Yep.
People who are in the stock, it's like the rules that my partner has are the 5 secrets of successful day trading. Have a plan on how much money you want to make in your day, and when you hit that goal, turn the machine off, because after that you're only going to overtrade, and you're going to turn a winning day into a losing day. Okay, number 2 is have a stop order on every trade you do. Not a mental stop. Market makers are not out to screw you. Not a mental stop, a real stop, and never move it. Okay, moving a stop order means you don't want to accept a loss. I would rather lose $50 than $300. But some people don't want to accept the loss, so they keep moving it lower because they don't want to get stuck. They don't have enough confidence in their trade, right, to know this is the price I want to buy the stock, right? So at the end of the day, that's one of the things. So never turn. So at the end of the day, you buy 100 shares at $50. You have a stop order at 49.5, whatever your stop is. Some people use the average day of the ADR. Some people use 1% of the price of the stock. I buy 100 shares at 50. I have a stop order at 49.5. I get stopped out, I lose $50. No big, I'll go on to the next trade. If it goes to 50.5, I sell 50% of my trade. I move my stop to break even. I now just made 50 cents and I can't lose money on the trade. That's the greatest feeling in the world as a day trader.
Yeah.
I just made a little money and I can't lose money. It goes to 51, I sell 25% more of the trade. Okay, I move my stop to 50.5. Now I've made a little more money and I've locked in a $0.50 profit. That's what builds confidence in a trader. Confidence is key. It's part of the psychology of trading, right? You can't have no confidence in it and then just throw darts at the wall and think, right? What you also don't want to do is know when to stop trading when you're making money and losing money, right? If you have 3 max loss trades in a day, we recommend you turn the machine off and go home.
Yep.
Go smoke a bone, have a Coca Loco, just get out of there. Because what you're going to end up doing is revenge trading. I've got to get it back. And you'll turn a $2,000 loss into an $8,000 loss, right?
Yep.
And same thing with over trading on the buy side. You hit your goal, that's the best it's going to get for the day, right? I mean, you think you may have diamond hands, it's going to get better. Usually it doesn't, right? And know that you're going to have losing trades, right? Executing a losing trade correctly is just as the same as a winning trade if you do it the right way. So this is all about discipline and learning the rules. So that's the best money advice.
Over time, I feel like it feels better. And obviously, winning's great, but when you can execute a losing trade and follow your stop and feel no like animosity or negativity towards it, it's like, wow, if I can do that, just wait till my winners come.
Exactly. And journaling, right? Journaling is key. Journaling is key in everything in life. Okay, we live life in a funny way. We are trading. You want to know what did I do here that helped me make money, right? Maybe the trade just worked. Maybe it just happened. But if there were things that I did consistently, I also say if I trade NVIDIA 5 times and 4 times I lost, don't trade NVIDIA. I just don't have a good feeling for the stock. It's just I get emotional about it. Whatever it is, right? Go where your strategy is working, right? And the same thing then journaling. Write everything down, right? So you can go back to it when you made money and look down, what did I do differently this time? And when you lose, did I get emotional? Did I get up to get a coffee? Did I move my stop order? Whatever it may be, right? Because the consistency and the discipline is what makes a good trader.
Yep.
Solid.
Any other questions?
Solid.
Sure, I got one more. This is an overall question.
Okay.
What does the stock industry do to people's mind?
Minds?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it messes it up. Look, money does funny things. Look, bottom line, it's not just the stock industry. Money does funny things to people, right? Greed, look, if you go back to the original Wall Street movie, which you may not have all seen, which is the first one you got to see, Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen. The original Wall Street movie was the story of Ivan Boesky, who was a corporate raider who claimed that he was hearing voices in the middle of the night about deals that are being done. In fact, was getting phone calls from a guy up at Goldman. Right, he got fined $180 million. Greed, actually, in the sense of it, is actually a good thing, right? At the end of the day, it's just. But look, money does funny things to people, right? And you should, at the end of the day, it's not that important, right? And you think about what people will do for money. Right? Money surely doesn't buy you happiness. It buys you freedom to do whatever you want to do. If you weren't trading stock, what would you be doing?
Probably be a police officer. That's
Really?
what I was going to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. You?
Something with fitness, like
Okay.
mental mindset.
Okay, and so what was the motivator to go to trading? Money?
Money.
Didn't want to be a police
So
officer.
you didn't want to, right, exactly. And money.
Yep. I want to
Right?
make
Money is an amazing motivator, but the bottom line is, look, I've made a lot of money in my life and I've lost. If you watch that interview I did with the School of Hard Knocks guy, I had 3 years where I was not making any money. I was broke. Right? I came into work every single day and never told anybody I was broke. Right? I was borrowing and bobbing and weaving. Right? It was 2006. Right? It was just around the financial crisis. And but I knew that no opportunity was going to find me at home, like, scared to death, hanging out under the bed. Right? I had a wife and 2 kids to support. So I showed up every day. I suited up and I did business, but I wasn't making any money. Right? And then one day on the subway, I ran into a guy I'd done business with back in the 80s, and he asked me how I was doing, and it was the first time I was honest. I said, I'm broke. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he goes, you and I traded great back in the 80s and 90s. Let's do it again. We started trading, and we ended up building a business together and got me out of the hole. So, look, money is something that, if it's elusive to you, you have to just, the motivator doesn't necessarily have to always be money. It's like, and also once you make money, right? One of the good things I appreciate was why I was attracted to this guy. At the end of the day, what you do with your money once you make it is really important, right? If you're not posting pictures on social media, lying on the back of a Bugatti and with stacks of $10,000 bills and look how great I am, I got all this money. You obviously did that really nice thing for that waitress. But we have this opportunity to do nice things. Why have I committed myself now to motivate and inspire this new generation of traders in the world. I could be doing a lot. I could be out on the beach if I wanted to be, but I'm not, right? Because I love what I do. I love the fact that there are so many traders who I've inspired who have gone out and done really good stuff, right? Like Noor is one of my great examples, right? You know who Noor Trades is?
yeah.
Noor hung out here for literally 6 months, hanging outside the building, waiting to meet me, right? He was 14 years old. And he finally met me and ended up going and got an internship out on Wall Street and then started to trade and then immediately pivoted to start teaching people and having like you and having a community around you, like share the wealth, have some fun and let other people. There's no point in standing alone on some mountaintop with a whole bunch of cash. It's pretty lonely. But think about how good it feels to do nice things for other people and teach other people how to make money, right? That's the best part.
Another question, again, not trading related. I saw in your stories, you go to the farmers market for food.
Right.
What makes you go to the farmers market for food?
Why?
Like why not like let's just say a regular grocery store?
Oh, you know, I mean, I love markets. I love marketplaces. For me, that's intriguing, right? I mean, I love also the human interaction. Why am I still here? This is the last human marketplace in the world. Right, so I'm kind of a people person. I grew up that way. With my father was that way. My father was a doctor, right? My parents were like Holocaust survivors. They had a wonderful beginning. Then they were in prison for 4 years, and everyone in their family got killed. And then he came to America and became a doctor. And he was a guy who said all this. He said I can get more out of just shaking someone's hand and asking them how they are and just having that sort of human interaction than all this other shit. And then looking at their numbers and all that, I can tell how they are. So that's kind of how I was brought up. That's why not everybody can do this job, right? Back in the day when we were not electronic, right? You needed to be able to relate to people. One of the weird things about social media is there's a phone between you and me. Like I can hide behind that phone all day long and never, relate to another human being. That's the downside to social media, right? But back in the day, you'd sit in a crowd for days with somebody, right? You had to be able to, relate to them in some way. That's one of the great that's the fun part of this, Nobody gets out of here alive, and along the way, you want to have some fun, right?
I love that you farm some of your own food, or you go.
I do absolutely. Look, I'm a farmer. Look, I'm in a big biohack. You are what you eat. I'm 137 years old. I look pretty good for my age. Right?
I'm huge on that too. Grass-fed, grass-finished.
Yeah,
no artificial dyes,
matter.
flavors.
At the end of the day, if you don't eat well, you're gonna fucking die young. Right now, I'm on all this anti-aging shit, which is just completely changed. You have to realize that I got COVID. I was given 3 months to live, right? And I was sick I was in a neck brace for 4.5 years until last October. So, if I didn't change up what I was doing, right? And I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. And I don't drink coffee, which you'd be amazed at. So, at the end of the day, it's just like if you love what you're doing, then you're going to have the good energy, like you did.
No drinking or smoking for me either. No alcohol for 18 months.
Awesome.
I
Congratulations.
do drink a lot of coffee, though.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know how you do that. Kudos to you.
So
That's awesome.
I drank up until probably a year ago. I was drinking 12 espressos in the morning before I left the house.
12?
So by the 12th, I was like on rocket fuel. I would just sit there and pump this shit. I had one of those industrial espresso machines, and I literally 12 shots of espresso, and I would just down it, and I would go. Eventually, you'll find out that coffee actually doesn't work. Coffee does. It takes it like sugar does too. It'll take you up and then drop you, right? So there are other things that can give you better energy. That are not illegal. That are not illegal.
So in the 80s, I'm sure they were really popular
in the 80s,
here.
People were doing a lot of things that gave you a lot of energy here that were not legal. But that's a question for another story.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah,
Come into the crowd.
All right, yeah, I can come right next to you. Cool. So, my question is, I'm a trend trader, so I like to identify momentum in the market, look for the pullback, and gain an entry. Now, the biggest thing for me is one of the indicators I love to use is the moving averages. So the 10, the 20, and beyond that. So for like any other trader or retail trader, you think that's like a good thing to use is these indicators? I found an edge with what I do, but it's not only those EMAs, but I combine a lot of other things. But price action is one thing that I love to use. Look for the momentum, then the pullback down to the 10 and the 20 EMA, and then look for a reaction on those candles to see that next move higher
That's
or
the
lower.
that for us. That's the most profitable trade is a trend
Really?
trade. Well, you realize that. So most trades you get in, you immediately know your exit.
Right.
Right, because it just sets. It's a short term. It's a scalp. A trend trade, you'll see the way the market goes when a stock or the market itself is in a trend. Right, we use a pullback to the 9 and the 15. Everybody uses different averages.
Right.
Right, it's whatever you're comfortable with, whatever works. We use the 9, 15, 30, 65, and 200.
Okay.
Right, the 200 being the strongest.
Right.
That's we call that the wall of China. No
Right.
disrespect to China. And but at the end of it, so a trend trade, you stay in until the trend breaks. Now
Right.
it may come in along the way, and
Yeah.
you may want to get out, but you don't. Right, you may not get the high.
Right.
But you stay in it until the trend breaks.
So that's why I find the EMAs be such a good indicator, because not only can you enter off of them, but you can also have conviction to hold because price is
100%.
holding above.
Yep.
So that's why I find like it's so interesting that that little line and those indicators can help so much during trading. And like for me personally, when I'm in that trade, I feel more comfortable because I'm watching that indicator follow
100%.
as it continues.
It's the most comfortable trade.
Yeah, so that's
especially for a newcomer.
That's the question I wanted to ask you, because it's something that I've used and it's helped me gain a lot of confidence within my trading and understand like I don't have to guess as much. Like it's like, oh well, my trade's above the averages right now. There's no reason that just exit just because. I'm going to wait to see some weakness. Maybe we cross the 9 or the 10 EMA, and then I'm like, maybe I should take my profits and get out.
Correct. Exactly. So it is our in the school that I work with.
Yeah.
It's our most profitable trade.
Wow, awesome.
And so, like you said, there's nothing better than watching that trend.
Right.
Right. You can literally ride it for the
Yeah.
whole friggin' day, and it's just the greatest feeling in the world.
And I think that's where a lot of traders like get messed up because they see, I made 10%. Let me get out. But nothing broke the technicals of like crossing those EMAs or doing anything. And then they try to FOMO in when it's up 30, 40, 50%, and then they lose their money. So using those EMAs, I feel like it has helped me hold my winners, which is a big deal for
so
my trading.
look, we try and look at Wall Street Global. We try and keep our charts simple.
Right.
You don't want them to look like air traffic control on 9/11. That people put tons of shit in there, and you're just like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
We use EMAs, the ones I described. We
Yep.
use pivot points.
Pivot points.
And we use the RSI.
Right.
Right, but each trade that we have, so we kind of teach 5 trades.
Yeah.
There's a trend trade, which is a momentum trade.
Right.
Right. There's a moving average trade. There's a far from moving average trade. There's a reversal swing trade. There's a double top, double bottom.
Yeah.
Try and keep it simple. For each trade, there are certain components that have to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Like a reversal swing trade, it's got to be up 3 days in a row, and the RSI's got to be above 80.
Gotcha.
It can be up 3 days in a row, and the RSI's not. Then
Yep.
it may keep going up a lot more.
Right.
So certain components need to come together to make the trade work.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing, and I'm sure you see that too.
And
Right? There's certain things. You got one thing going, and I get it, but people like jump in because it's the wrong
I think that's a
trade.
big thing too for building edge. Like everyone talks about building edge in the market or having confidence. I think the reason why you have confidence in trading is because you have multiple factors of why you would take the trade.
100%.
Because a lot of people will just see, price is going up, let's buy, but they have no confidence, so therefore you're not going to be able to execute on that.
Well, that's why you hear a lot of retail guys going through, well, I'm waiting for the confirmation.
Right.
Technical analysis is the confirmation.
Exactly.
You don't need more confirmation.
Right.
Right? So you're also going to miss, you also look for a spread. You don't want the spread to be too wide,
Right.
Right? If the spread's too wide, you're already missing the big on the trade,
Right.
So yeah, I'm proud of you guys. Because it's not easy. It's kind of simple, but it's not easy. We are
it's
our
very
own
hard.
worst enemy.
Yep.
We tend to complicate it way worse than it is.
Yep.
So the fact that you guys have this community and you guys are teaching each other how to trade, and look, trading can be an incredibly lonely place. So if you guys are all together and you trade, that's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Even if you guys are on opposite sides of the trade. Have you ever been on?
that
have you
happens.
ever been on the
We call it baiting each other, right?
Baiting
Try not
each
to
other. I
bait
love that. I absolutely love that. Right, and then you get whoever wins buys lunch. Who the hell knows, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. Well, I am excited that you guys have found this, right? Because if you didn't find it, you'd be doing something else.
Yeah.
I think you've found a platform too, that you're doing something good with it. Because as I said, there are lots of people who are just they make a bunch of money and then they end up flaunting it, and that's not that exciting, right?
Right.
It's so much more fun to be in have a team.
Totally.
So,
For
you know,
sure.
I'm proud of you, and I'm glad you're on the journey.
Thank you for
Congrats.
answering my questions.
My pleasure.
That was awesome.
You're the
Thank
goat.
you.
Thank you,
Apex
man.
Wall Street Global to the moon.
Yes.
And these guys, what's the name of the company?
Team Bull.
Team Bull.
Team
Wall
Bull.
Street Global, Apex, and Team Bull, baby. Let's go.
Let's
To the
get it.
moon, Alice. I love you. And that's all I got to say about that.